will be learning computer organization and architecture. So, what are the topics come under this computer organization and architecture? The first topic is von Neumann architecture. Von Neumann architecture is also known as Princeton architecture or IAS computer. So, we have a question in our mind that from whom this von Neumann architecture came, or how does this name Princeton architecture or IAS computer came. So let us see in details. In 1946, John von Neumann and his colleagues began to design a new stored program computer at the Institute for Advanced Studies, that is IAS, in Princeton, New Jersey. It is now called IAS computer. So from this point, it is clearly seen that this John von Neumann designed a stored program computer. So, from his name John von Neumann architecture came, and he designed this new stored program computer at the Institute for Advanced Studies, which is known as IAS. So, the other name of this computer is IAS computer or Princeton computer, because he designed his new stored program computer in Princeton. Next, let us see what is stored program computer. Stored program computer means that a computer which stores programs instruction in a single memory. That means in the single memory, in one single memory, programs and instruction means data and instructions are stored. So it is known as stored program computer, means in one memory data and instruction are stored. So it is called stored program computer. Now in this slide we will see the architecture. How does the von Neumann architecture looks like? So we can see here an input device, an output device, central processing unit which consists of control unit, arithmetic logic unit and resistors, and another unit is memory unit. So mainly the von Neumann architecture consists of input output device, central processing unit and memory unit. And in the central processing unit we have the control unit, arithmetic logic unit and the resistors. So the resistors, arithmetic logic unit and control unit are the part of the central processing unit, and we will later know about this in details. Now the principle of von Neumann architecture are: number 1, programs and data stored in the same memory, means in one single memory data and instructions are stored. Number 2, programs are executed as directed by the instruction in a sequential order by the computers. Second point, we can see that programs are executed as directed by the instructions. The instruction says or instruction directs how the program will be executed in a sequential order. It executes in a sequential order by the computer. Number 3, programs can modify themselves when the computer executes the program. Number third point is programs can modify themselves when the computer executes the program. These are the 3 principles of von Neumann architecture. Now in this slide we can see the components of computer system. So what are the components of computer system? The components are the input device, the output device, the central processing unit and the main memory or the internal memory. So these are the components of computer system. Here we can see in the figure that from the input device the data is moved to the central processing unit, and from the central processing unit the data is moved to the internal memory or main memory, and from the internal or main memory the data is moved to the central processing unit. From there it is moved to the output device. This is the function of the computer system, and the components are the central processing unit, memory unit and the input-output device. Now in this slide we can see the central processing unit or the CPU. In the figure we can see the CPU. It looks like this, and the points are the CPU is often called the brain of the computer. So the main part is the CPU is the brain of the computer. It composed of the control unit, arithmetic logic unit and registers. So previously we have said that the components of CPU are the control unit, arithmetic logic unit and registers. So the main part of the computer is the CPU and it is called the brain of the computer. Next point is the microprocessor chip contains the central processing unit or the CPU. So microprocessor chip contains the CPU. Third point, whenever we write a line of code in Python, Java, C++ or any other programming language, it's broken down into assembly language, which is a language that the processor can understand. It fetches, decodes and executes this instruction. So in this point we can see that if we write a line of code in any programming language, that can be Java, that can be C++ or Python, in any programming language, that line of code is broken down into assembly language because the computer understands the assembly language. What is assembly language? It is a language that the processor can understand. So whenever we write a line of code in any programming language, then that code is broken down into assembly language which the computer can understand. The CPU fetches the instruction, then decodes the instructions, and after that it executes the instructions. So what is the work of the CPU? Firstly it fetches the instruction. After fetching the instruction, it decodes the instruction, and after decoding it executes those instructions. So this is the function of CPU. Next point, the control unit, which is the part of the CPU. So from the point we can see this unit supervises the flow of information between various units. Means this control unit controls the flow of information of all the units that are present in the computer system. In short, we can say that control unit controls other units of the computer system. Second point, it tells the computer's memory, arithmetic and logic unit and input and output device how to respond to the instruction that have been sent to the processor. From the second point, we can see that it tells the computer's memory, arithmetic and logic unit and input-output device, means it tells the parts of the computer, that is memory, arithmetic and logic unit, that is ALU, input-output device, that is the components of the computer, how to respond to the instruction that have been sent to the processor. Means when an instruction has been sent to the processor, This control unit tells the computer's memory or the arithmetic and logic unit or the input-output device how to respond to those instructions. Number 3, it retrieves the program instruction one by one using registers. It retrieves means recovers the program's instruction one by one using registers which is stored in the memory. We have seen that registers, the name of registers before. So it retrieves the program instruction one by one using registers. Using these registers, it retrieves or recovers the program's instructions. And those instructions are stored in the memory. The instructions are decoded by the control unit itself. The instructions are decoded by the control unit itself, and then the decoded instructions are sent to the arithmetic logic unit for processing. So it fetches the instruction and then it decodes the instruction and then it executes the instruction. So here in this point we can see that the instructions are decoded by the control unit itself, and then the decoded instructions are sent to the arithmetic logic unit for processing. Now, next point, it manages and coordinates all the units of the computer. At first we have said this, the main part of control unit is it controls the other part of the computer. That is, it manages and coordinates all the units of the computer. It does not process or store data. The control unit does not process any data or does not store any data. So here is the figure where we can see the performance of a control unit. First, in step 1, we can see that it fetches the instruction from the memory. The control unit fetches the instruction from the memory. Step 2, we can see that it decodes the instruction into commands. Second step is, after fetching the instruction, it decodes those instructions. And number 3 is, it executes commands. It executes those commands which have been decoded. Number 4, it stores the result in the memory. After decoding, then it executes. After executing, it stores the results in the main memory. So what are the function of the control unit? The function of the control unit is, firstly, it fetches the instruction from the memory. Secondly, it decodes those instructions into commands. And thirdly, it executes those commands. And fourthly, it stores the results in the memory. So this is the function of the control unit. Now, what is ALU? ALU is a part of the CPU. So, arithmetic logic unit is the part of the CPU that handles all the calculation that the CPU may need. The arithmetic logic unit, the full form of ALU is arithmetic logic unit. This arithmetic logic unit handles all the calculation that the CPU may need. Number 2, different operations are carried out by ALU can be categorized as follows. The operations those are carried out by the ALU are, firstly, logical operation, secondly, bit shifting operation, and thirdly, arithmetic operation. Now, what is logical operation? This logical operation include operation like AND, OR, NOT, XOR, NOR, NAND, etc., which we will learn details in another subject. Next, bit shifting operations, and thirdly, arithmetic operations. Bit shifting operations are, this pertains to shifting the position of the bits by a certain number of places either towards the right or left. Bit shifting operation means it shifts the position of the bits either towards right or towards left, which is considered as multiplication or division operations. These bit shifting operations are also known as multiplication or division operations. The bits are shifted either to the right or to the left. Arithmetic operation. This refers to bit addition and subtraction. These arithmetic operations refers to bit addition and subtraction. Although multiplication divisions are sometimes used, these operations are most expensive to make. Multiplication and subtraction can also be done by repetitive addition and subtraction respectively. So the three operations are logical operation, bit shifting operation and arithmetic operation. So these are the operations of arithmetic and logic unit. So here is the figure of ALU. Here is integer operand. Here is also the integer operand and this is the integer result. CPU registers. These registers are the part of the CPU. These registers are mainly accumulators, program counter register, memory address register, memory data register, current instruction register, instruction buffer register. So what is accumulator or what is the function of accumulator? It stores the result of calculation made by the arithmetic logic unit. Means in accumulator the results are stored, that is done by the arithmetic logic unit. Number 2 is program counter register. Program counter register keeps track of the memory location of the next instruction to be dealt with. The PC then passes this next address to memory address register. Now number 3, the memory address register. The memory address register stores the memory location of instructions that need to be fetched from memory or stored into the memory. See, the MAR, the function of MAR is it stores the memory location of instructions that need to be fetched from the memory. So it stores the memory location of the instruction that is needed to be fetched from the memory or stored in the memory. Next is MDR, that is memory data register. MDR stores the instruction fetched from the memory or any data that is to be transferred to and stored in the memory. What is MDR? MDR is the memory data register. It stores the instruction fetched from the memory. And the memory address register is it stores the memory location of instruction that is needed to be fetched from the memory. And the memory data register is it stores the instruction that is fetched from the memory or any data that is to be transferred to and stored in the memory. Number fifth register is the CIR, that is current instruction register. CIR stores the most recently fetched instruction while it is waiting to be coded and executed. That is, CIR stores the most recently fetched instructions while it is waiting to be coded and executed. Sixth register is instruction buffer register or IBR. The instruction that is not to be executed immediately is placed in the instruction buffer register. The instruction those are not to be executed immediately is placed in the buffer register. Now the memory unit. What are the features or what are the functions of the memory unit? The functions of the memory unit are, first one is it stores all the data and instruction required for processing. That means all the data and instruction those are to be processed are stored in the memory unit. Number 2, it stores intermediate results of processing. means that it stores the intermediate results. Number 3, it stores the final result of processing. It stores the intermediate result as well as it stores the final result of processing before these results are released to an output device. Fourth point is all input and outputs are transmitted through the main memory. Here we can see a figure of the computer memory. Computer memory are of two types, primary memory, secondary memory. Primary memory are of RAM and ROM. One is volatile and one is non-volatile. And RAM is of SRAM, DRAM, ROM is PROM, EPROM, EEPROM. And here the secondary memory is HDD, SSD, computer disk, flop disk, management tape, etc. So these are the memory unit. Next slide is input-output device. The input-output device are also the part of the computer system or the components of the computer system. So what is input unit? This unit transfers the information is provided by the user into the memory. So the information that the user gives is transferred to the memory through these input units. We, the user, give the information or provide the information and it is transferred to the memory by the input units. Example of input units, we all know that these are keyboard, mouse, scanner, etc. Output unit. This unit receives the result of the computations and display it to the monitor or the user get the printed results by the means of a printer. Output unit is the unit by which we get the result. What type of result? Computational results, that is done by the CPU and display it to the monitor or the user gets the printed result by means of the printer. Example is monitor, printer, etc. And here in the figure we can see some input-output device and middle we can see both are treated as input and output device. Now this slide says the advantages and disadvantages of von Neumann architecture. So what are the advantages of von Neumann architecture? First point is less physical space is required than Harvard architecture. So what is Harvard architecture? It is another type of architecture like von Neumann architecture features two different memories for data and instruction. Now this von Neumann architecture occupies less physical space than the Harvard architecture. Number 2 is handling just one memory block is simpler and easier to achieve. We have one single memory for both data and instruction in von Neumann architecture. So handling that memory, one single memory or a single memory is simpler and easier rather than handling two different memories for data and instructions, which is found in the Harvard architecture. Third point is cheaper to use than Harvard architecture. So this von Neumann architecture is cheaper than the Harvard architecture. What are the disadvantages? First point is shared memory. In this point, it says that a defective program can overwrite another in memory, causing it to crash. So, as the memory is shared between many programs, therefore, a defective program can overwrite another in this memory. So a defective program can overwrite another program in the memory which is causing to crash the memory. Next point is memory leaks. Some defective program fails to release memory when they are finished with it. It could cause the computer to crash due to insufficient memory. So, this point says that we can have many defective programs, and if those defective programs fail to release the memory after finishing, then this could lead to computer crash due to insufficient memory. So, it says that we can have many defective programs, and if those defective programs fail to release the memory after finishing with it, then it could cause computer crash due to the insufficient memory. Third point is data bus speed. We know that the speed of the CPU is much faster than the data bus. So, the CPU has to sit idle for the data bus to bring the data. So, this is the data bus speed concept, and this concept is also known as von Neumann bottleneck. Means the CPU has to sit idle for the data bus to bring the data. Next point is the fetch rate. Data and instructions share the same data bus even though the rate at which each needs to be fetched is often very different. That means we have a single bus for data and instruction. Means in the same bus data and instruction share the same bus. Even though the rate at which each needs to be fetched is often very different, even though the fetch rate of data and instructions are different. So, this is another disadvantage of von Neumann architecture. Now, the Harvard architecture. What is Harvard architecture? It is another type of architecture. The Harvard architecture is a computer architecture with separate storage and single paths for instruction and data. Means in von Neumann architecture we have seen a single storage, that is a single memory for data and instruction. But here in Harvard architecture we can see separate storage for data and instruction and single path for instruction and data. And the paths are also different. Instruction moves in one path and data moves in another path. But in Harvard architecture, we have seen there is a single memory unit for data and instruction and the same data and instruction bus for the data and instruction. In contrast with the von Neumann architecture, where the program instruction and data share the same memory and pathway. That means the difference is that in Harvard architecture we have different memory for data and instruction and different data bus for data and instruction. But in von Neumann architecture we have a single memory and we have a single data and instruction bus. The term originated from the Harvard Mark I relay-based computer which stored instruction on punch tape and data in electromechanical counters. Now some of the comparison between von Neumann architecture and Harvard architecture. So, first point of von Neumann architecture is, here there is no separate data and program memory. Instead, a single memory connection is given to the computer. And in Harvard architecture is, here the CPU is connected with both the data memory RAM and program memory ROM separately. So first point, it says that von Neumann architecture have no separate data and instruction memory. In Harvard architecture, it has separate instructions and data memory. Number 2 is von Neumann architecture requires less space, but Harvard architecture requires more space. Number 3 is speed of execution is slower since it cannot fetch the data and instruction at the same time. And in Harvard architecture, the speed of execution is faster because the processor fetches data and instructions simultaneously. Next point is space is not wasted because the space of the data memory can be utilized by the instruction memory and vice versa. In von Neumann architecture, as there is a single memory, so the space of the memory is not wasted. Here in von Neumann architecture, this space can be utilized by both data and instruction or instruction and data. But in Harvard architecture, we can see that it results in wastage of space since if the space is left in the data memory, then the instructions memory cannot use the space of the data memory and vice versa. But in Harvard architecture, we can see the wastage of space. But in von Neumann architecture, there is no wastage of space. Next point or last point is controlling becomes simpler since either data or instruction are to be fetched at the time. Last point says that controlling becomes simpler since either data or instructions are to be fetched at the same time. Means we can control it or it is easier to control. And in Harvard architecture is controlling becomes complex since data and instruction are to be fetched simultaneously. So what are the comparison? First comparison is no separate space is there for data and instruction. Instead, there is a single memory for data and instruction in von Neumann architecture. In Harvard architecture, we can see that there is separate storage for data and instruction. Number 2, in von Neumann architecture, we can see that von Neumann architecture requires less space, but in Harvard architecture, we can see that Harvard architecture requires more space. Number 3 is speed of execution is slower since it cannot fetch the data and instruction at the same time. And in Harvard architecture, the speed is faster. Next point is space is not wastage because the space of the data and memory can be utilized by the instruction memory. And in Harvard architecture, space is wasted because there are two different memories, one for data and one for instructions. So the instruction cannot use the memory space for data and the memory cannot use the instruction space. So the space of the memory is wasted. Last point is controlling becomes simpler since either data or instruction are to be fetched at the same time, and in Harvard architecture is controlling becomes complex.